Yesterday I was discussing it with here in the studio, said he'll put his life on the fact that if Donald Trump gets the nomination that he won't win the election. And I told him to pause on that because it is politics. But the bottom line is Donald Trump probably will get the nomination, but it seems now almost impossible that he could take it to the next level and win the next election.
Yes, that's very correct. It is almost impossible he could win because the country is not with him on the issues. He's way extreme, as the MAGA right-wing faction of the Republican Party is so out of line with the mainstream of America. And it depends who the Democrats put up to run, but almost any Democrat will be able to beat Trump. And it looks like Trump will be the nominee at this point if things keep going as they are. We'll just have to wait and see. A lot of interesting times ahead and observations, that's for sure.
The current President, Joe Biden, has just got back from Ireland. Look, it's a story and a country close to his heart, but also, if you look at the political situation, the Irish influence in the US is enormous.
It has been for a long time, for over 100 years. You know, the Irish-American immigrants came here as very poor and not that much, they had not a lot of education. They came here and worked very hard in factories, the end of the police force. Some of them climbed up to be in political positions in cities, and they built up their community that way. And they worked very hard, very successful. They've been solid Democrats throughout the generations, and they still are. One of our most famous Irish-American presidents was President John F. Kennedy, of course. Now we have President Joe Biden. And Joe Biden connected with his ancestral home when he was there. County Mayo, where his great-grandfather comes from as an immigrant. The people just embraced him with open arms. It was really heartwarming to see that kind of connection with your motherland, because that's what most Americans are, immigrants. They come from all over the world, and we do connect with our motherland, our culture, and we proudly carry that and brought that to the United States. And we have a country, the United States, with a nation of immigrants, as President Kennedy said, a country with multi-ethnicity. And it's a beautiful thing to see Joe Biden going back and connecting with his roots as well.
Finally, Peter, what is your assessment of Joe Biden at this point as President of the US?
So far, I would have to give him at least a B+ at this point, because he came in a terribly tumultuous time when, things were in a horrendous situation with President Trump's activities that he took part. I'm being mild when I use that word, but he upset the country and rolled it upside down in a lot of ways. I'm talking about President Trump, from the COVID crisis all the way to other things, riling up hate-filled rhetoric from the extreme right wing, and many of them were white supremacists, bringing in anti-immigrant feelings throughout the country and just dividing the country. And then Biden comes in with these crises and is able to stabilize it quite a bit, not to mention the tremendous programs he's brought in public investment spending, which the United States needed very much. Now, he did have to handle the issue of inflation, which is starting to go down again, but it went up quite high, and it's been hurting a lot of working people. But the point is that we had to invest and go through certain things to make it through this terrible crisis of COVID. And at least we didn't get a great recession out of it. I think the country's on its way. So I think President Biden has a lot to offer the country. If he's running against former President Trump, it'll be hands down that Biden will win again by several percentage points, I'm pretty sure. But we wish him well in terms of his health, and we think he'll be the oldest American president to serve and to eventually finish his terms. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a bit of an insight on the times, aren't they? People living longer, and that just makes sense these days. That's something that's not brought up all that often. Pete, always good to chat. Let's do it again next week.